77 WABC and Bergen Newbridge Medical Center honor the life of legendary broadcaster and our friend, Ernie Anastas.
Hi, it's Ernie Anastas. You know, your thoughts can affect how you feel. Bergen Newbridge Medical Center is the largest hospital in New Jersey, providing comprehensive, equitable, compassionate, and high-quality emergency inpatient and outpatient medical care, plus mental health services and substance use disorder treatment. The Bergen Newbridge team can address your total health needs in one convenient location. Call 201-225-7130 for an appointment or newbridgehealth.org.
Excuse me! Taxi!
Come on, what are you doing? This is the 77 WABC minicast.
Everything is fine. Everything is good. Everything is beautiful, actually. Am I worried about the Iran war, rather? I know a lot of people want me to be worried, and they want to portray this as the worst possible thing. And who's telling that story? The New York Times and failed national security analysts and advisors under Democrats. Jake Sullivan has been out there saying this war is totally lost, and the best President Trump can do is to sign on to a deal that we had 5 years ago. And I can't believe that these guys are attempting to drive the conversation about Iran, especially Jake Sullivan. Jake Sullivan has screwed up virtually everything he's ever touched. There are guys like this. You know, when you're in politics and when you've gone to the right schools, and for him, I think he's gone to Yale undergrad and Yale Law School, right? And when you look that little wussy way that he looks, you know, which is, you think he must be smart, but he's smart in a very non-charismatic way, so he won't be a threat to the person he works for, right? Because, you know, politicians, they can be very vain and shallow and also insecure because a lot of them aren't that smart. You know, this is just another way to be talked about, to be in the focus of attention. That's what they want. It's not about helping people. So you got Jake Sullivan out there trying to say that President Trump, that the war is doomed. And a lot of them are citing a New York Times story from yesterday that says of the 33 missile sites that are key in Iran, we only destroyed 3 of them. Well, I don't believe that. Okay, number one, I just don't believe it. And they say they're citing intelligence documents and intelligence people. Now, you can get an intelligence person to say anything. You really can. And you can look at intelligence data, intelligence reports, right? First of all, it's written in gibberish, right? It's really gibberish. It's like, we think there is a 10% probability that there is a 20% probability that there is a moderate certainty that there are 30 systems that are still in effect. What? You know, it's literally written like that. It's written to confuse the consumer and to protect the producer. So if they are vague and opaque and contradictory and all over the place, you know, you start to think, well, maybe it's me. I mean, maybe I'm just not good at reading this intelligence stuff. This is really how they do it. They intimidate presidents. They intimidate people from the outside with their gobbledygook. But their gobbledygook is just that. It's gobbledygook. The problem isn't me. It isn't you. It's them. They produce it that way. It also helps in, like, okay, if nothing is clear cut, then nobody can ever blame us for anything, right? They're never going to say, as George Tenet, the director of the CIA, once said to George W. Bush's face, it's a slam dunk that there are weapons of mass destruction. No. They will never stick their neck out like that again. It'll always be, there is a 10% chance that there is a 90% chance of moderate certainty of possible presence of the traces of uranium, and they just never. And the other thing is, since they can never be called on it, right? And they create this camouflage, this intellectual camouflage that they're better than they are, right? And this stuff appears very complex, so it takes a lot of people to create it. Very interesting. So from that morass, from that mess of deep state operatives who have contempt for the elected people, the elected leaders, and the people who elected them, they leaked to the New York Times that President Trump has been completely ineffective in this Iran conflict. Now, that tells me he's been completely effective. Literally, they have been wrong and are wrong on everything. Everything. So I am confident. Now, there are some things that are worrisome. Number one, our battleships and our ships, right? If they sink one of our ships, and to be honest, I mean, I want to talk like academically and intellectually. I don't want to lose a battleship. It would be terrible, right? I mean, but if we lost a battleship, it wouldn't be catastrophic. It shouldn't be catastrophic, but it would be catastrophic. Obviously catastrophic for the battleship and the crew. I don't want to lose anybody, right? But if we did, we have, 300 to 400 ships. If we lost one of them in a conflict of this duration, would that mean it was all not worth it? From a geopolitical standpoint and the way the world talks to each other, right? Yeah, it would. It would probably have been because of the way they would talk. But in history, I mean, he might be redeemed in history. To me, the Iran war has been totally justified by the Iranians' behavior since this damn thing started, right? Now, I didn't really, I don't think much about Iran on a day-to-day basis. But when I thought, I haven't thought of them all that much since they took our hostages in 1979. Hey, can I go back to the White House for a second? Because Vance is taking questions, and this is always good. And Dr. Oz is right over his shoulder. And let's listen.
We want to get there. We want to work with these guys. You heard Dr. Oz say this earlier. I've looked at the numbers myself. It's true. If you just deal with the fraud issue, you can prolong the Medicare and Medicaid trust funds well into the future. So it does have a significant budgetary impact, whether that's hundreds of billions of dollars or maybe even more. We're not going to know until we do the work, but we're going to do the work.
Yeah, if I could on China.
Let's do one question from each person. Go ahead. We can do both, you guys. You guys can fight for who goes first.
Sure. Mr. Vice President, Reagan Reese with the Daily Caller. What's your reaction to the alleged home health fraud in Ohio, and why do you think this is happening in a red state? And just a question of clarification. You mentioned that some states aren't cooperating. What does that look like? Are they not responding to your calls? Are they stonewalling you guys? If you could expand on that.
So I'll let Dr. Oz go into the details a little bit, but on the Ohio issue in particular, look, this happens everywhere. We're a big country. Hundreds of billions of dollars goes out the door every single month from the federal government. And inevitably, you're going to have people who try to take advantage of it. What bothers me is not that you have a few fraudsters out there. It's that the government hasn't taken seriously pushing it back. You're always going to have bad people. You're always going to have a few bad apples try to take advantage of the system. What's so unique about this country until recently is that we didn't take that seriously. We didn't try to push back against the fraud, and that's what's changed. When I talk about cooperating with these various states, and again, we've had some good cooperation with both red states and blue states, it's very context specific. But for example, let's say that we know we have a number of fraudulent Medicare or Medicaid providers. Working with the federal government to identify who those are, to kick them off the rolls so that when those companies, those fraudulent companies submit a reimbursement, they don't actually get any money in return. Now, sometimes the federal government has a better perspective on that. Sometimes the states do. But that's one example of ensuring that local providers that are fraudulent are not able to get reimbursed or not able to get access to the resources. That's just one example. Dr. Oz, I'm sure you probably have 100 more in that brain of yours.
Sure, please. Very succinctly, Minnesota, which we announced the deferment there when the Vice President and I were in this room several months ago, sued us. And we're trying to get them to wake up to a problem. The amount that we deferred was a small percentage of their rainy day fund. They sued us and sought a temporary restraining order. That's not what a partner does. The judge did not give them a temporary restraining order. We're going to California now in part because we couldn't get them to respond on things that we think they should have taken proactive steps on. If they've been warned for at least 4 years by their own auditor general that there's a massive problem with hospice and they don't deal with it, it pollutes the entire ecosystem. It creates corruption that rots the foundation of who we are. So on the 19th of December, after it had gone through all the different processes, the State Department of Health in California was going to mandate by the first of the year that you cannot have more than one hospice per provider. This is a red flag issue. Why would a doctor need to have 20 hospices? You have one hospice, do it right. They need 20 hospices because they're taking bribes, they're selling their license and their soul.
Oh my
For
God.
reasons we don't understand, and I'd love to pose that right here to the state of California, someone very senior in their government pulled down that rule. never let it issue, and we never got help from them. That's why we went out the first week of January to say, what's going on here? And we find out that, as the Vice President mentioned, the Medicare fraud detection units sometimes are not being enabled to do their jobs.
Yeah.
These are the kinds of behaviors that people take when they're trying to hide the ball.
So he is so spot on. Man, I love Dr. Oz.
Did you know that St. Luke's University Health Network, based in the Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania, has been recognized by the U.S. government as the highest performing health system in the United States for quality? You heard right. St. Luke's #1 recognition affirms our status as the top leader among the most respected healthcare providers in the nation, including Houston Methodist and the Mayo Clinic. To state it simply, if you want to receive the best care when you go to a hospital, come to St. Luke's.